Hey guys, welcome to game 2 of Dwindling Elves. So this will be the second game in my Escalation League. So for those of you who didn't watch the first, it's 1250 points throughout September. And then in October it'll go up to 1750, and November it'll go up to 2250. So this game here is with my High Elves again against another Lizardmen opponent. So I played Lizardmen last week, but this one is against a different Lizardmen player in this league. So as for magic, again, my list is the same as last week, so I took the Lore Master of Hoeth, who I thought performed very, very well for me last week, so we'll see how he does in the second game. And my opponent brought the level 3 Sking Priest special character that counts as a jungle swarm, so he's on the 40mm base. I don't know what his name is. And he took Lore of Beasts, so he ended up taking Wissons, Curse of Anra here, and Savage Beast of Horus. And I really like Lore Beasts for Lizardmen. Especially these three spells. I think Wisson's Wild Form works really well on Saurus Warriors. And it helps Skinks a little bit as well, but it's really good on Saurus Warriors. I love Curse of Anra here. The -1 to hit is huge, and if you can prevent someone from charging with it, all the better. And then Savage Beasts of Horus is built for Scar veterans, I think. I mean, with that spell up, I think they get 7 strength 8 attacks or something crazy like that. So this is the deployment. On my far left, I've got my Eagle. Then I've got, in the center, I've got 25 Lothern Seaguard with Banner, Musician, and Shields. And then I have 22 White Lions with Banner and Musician, and in there I've got my Lore Master. And he's got the Book of Hoeth and the Golden Crown, so he gets a 2+ ward against the first wound. And then I have my BSB, who's got the 4 parry shield and the Reaver Bow. And on the hill, I've got 2 Bolt Throwers. So again, this game I'm playing more defensive because I think his Saurus will outfight me. So as for his deployment, on his left he's got an Ancient Stegodon. The head is missing, but it's an Ancient Stag with the Engine of the Gods. Then he's got a unit of 20 Skinks, and they have Javelins and Shields. And then in there he's got a Skink Priest with the magical egg of something. So I think it works like a breath weapon. You roll a d6 and you see how strong your breath weapon is at the start of combat. And yeah, it's absolutely devastating against elves, I suspect. And then next to them, he's got a block of 20 Saurus with full command, and they've got shield and spear. And in there, he's got his Cold One BSB, or no, sorry, his Scar Veteran BSB. And they've got the Jaguar standard, so they're rolling 3d6 for their charge distances. And then he's got his General, which is the Skink Priest special character who's on a 40mm base, and he's in a unit of 4 Jungle Swarms. So Lizardmen get the first turn, and he moves up as such. And in his magic phase, he gets off Curse of Anra here on my archers, so they'll be -1 to hit for shooting next turn. And he also gets off Wisson's Wild Form on the Swarms. I mean, this one I kind of let through, and I figured it wouldn't really affect the game, so I just let it through. So, High Elves turn 1. I fly my Eagle up to on the side of his Ancient Stag. And this is mainly just to march block the Ancient Stag and that unit of Skinks. And the rest of my battle line stays as is because I don't want to take any penalties for moving forward and shooting, because I just want to get as many shots off as possible. So in the magic phase, I get a pretty good magic phase. So I cast Spirit Leech on his General. So I'm leadership 9, he's leadership 8. So I have a bonus. I end up doing 3 wounds, but he's got a 5-up ward save and saves 2 of them. So I mean, what are you gonna do? But 1 wound is 1 wound, so I'll take that. Then I know he doesn't really get a Lookout Serve save because there's only 4 bases in the unit. And then I decide to 2d6 Fireball his General. And I get 1 wound through. So this is where the Wissen's Wild form, he goes from toughness 3 to toughness 4, made a big difference. So I've got his Skink Priest down to 1 wound, but it would have been nicer to get a couple more. Then I get a good magic phase, and I miasma their movement of these Saurus by 2 just to slow them down, so to buy me an extra turn of shooting. And then in my shooting phase, my archers shoot at his skink block, and I knock out 3 skinks. And my bolt throwers do 2 wounds on the ancient stag. And the Reaver bow picks off one of the Saurus warriors. So Lizardmen turn 2. His Saurus warriors move up as much as they can, but they're movement 2, so they're not going anywhere fast. His skink cohort moves up 6 inches so that they can throw javelins at my spear elves. And then this surprised me a bit. He faces his engine of the gods to look at my eagle, which I thought was great for me. And I'm not sure why he did it, but I'm thinking about it. I think he was worried that if I charge my eagle into the rear of his ancient stag, if he keeps coming at my battle line, then I might actually win that one. And if he's out of BSB range, I think he's still stubborn on a 6 cold-blooded, but my eagle could maybe break him if I get a rear charge. So I'm up by 3. If he only does 1 wound to me, I'm up by 2. I could break him. I don't know what the odds are. So looking back on it, it makes sense. But it pleased me to no end that my eagle was going to delay the Stegodon for at least 1 turn. So in his magic phase, he puts Wissens up on the skinks, I guess mainly to protect them from shooting. And he gets Savage Beast of Horus off on his BSB. So High Elf turn 2. So my eagle dances around the Stegodon. So I'm just looking to keep him busy for as long as possible. I figured I have 1 or 2 turns tops before the Stegodon poisons me to death. And as before, my battle lines stays where they are. So in the magic phase, I preemptively get off Ice Shard Blizzard on the Blockosaurus. So in the event that they make a long bomb charge, they do have the Jaguar standard, that they're -1 to hit. And I also miasma their movement down by 1. So they're looking at an 11 to reach either of my blocks, which I feel pretty good about. So in the shooting phase, between my archers and my 2 bolt throwers, I take out 8 of these skinks. I'm not shooting the bolt throwers at the Stegodon at the moment because he's facing the wrong way and he can't really threaten my battle line right now, so he's not that big of a threat. So I can really thank the eagle for that. And the Reaver bow is Mr. Consistent and takes out another Saurus warrior. So on his turn, he declares 3 charges and fails all 3 of them. So the skinks charged into the Loathing Seaguard, and he needed like a 6 to make it in, and he rolled a 4. So I stood and shot with them into them. Then the Saurus and the Swarms needed a very long charge. I think the Swarms needed a 10, and the Saurus needed like an 11 to get into the White Lions, and he failed those charges. So on the stand and shoot, there were originally 8 skinks in this unit. After the stand and shoot, I knocked out another 4. So I got a free round of shooting there. And Reaver bow again knocks out 1 Saurus warrior. So he turns his Stegodon around to he has to cast his laser beam spell from the top onto my eagle, as well as to shoot them. He puts Wissen's Wild Form up on these skinks again, I guess mainly to protect them from shooting and maybe a possible counter charge. And in his shooting phase, he does 2 wounds to my eagle. But hey, the eagle's done its job as far as I'm concerned. So in my movement phase, I continue to dance the eagle around. I know he's got a limited shelf life at this point, but any extra turn is a great thing for me. And then this is where I think I make the biggest mistake of the game. So I have a choice here. Both of them are relatively easy charges. I can charge my white lions either into the Saurus or the swarms next to them. Now, I decided on charging the Saurus. Now I think what I probably should have done is charge them into the swarms. His general had 1 wound left. I put as many attacks on his general as possible, and I should knock out his general. I can put the rest of my attacks on the swarm, and once his general is dead, they'll crumble to combat res, and I should be able to reform to look at the flank or rear of his Saurus. But I think what I was afraid of at the time was that in case I don't break him, or even if I do break him, his Saurus could just charge into my Spearman. And I know his Saurus will just absolutely chew through my Spearman. So I figured the best option was to charge into the Saurus because they are the biggest threat. And I have 22 strength 6 attacks hitting on 3s, killing on 2s, and then my BSB also gets an extra 3 strength 4 attacks that have rerolls. So I figured between that, without any magic buffs, I could probably kill most of the unit before they even get the strike. And if I get 1 or 2 magic buffs off, it's, that's it for me. I've got the game right there. So we'll see what happens. So in the shooting phase, I knock off the last 3 skinks from this unit, but I fail to put any wounds onto the skink priest, or the skink chief. And then after combat. So you notice I didn't have a magic phase. So I think I ended up rolling a 4 and a 1, so it's 5 dice to 4. He dispels Ice Shard Blizzard, which is a good move. It's -1 to hit, and it means he's hitting me on 5s. And then I roll 2 dice at Earthblood, and even with the reroll, I fail to cast it. So I need a 6 on 2 dice, and I fail to cast, and my magic phase ends. I was planning on getting Earthblood up, and then also getting up Miasma to reduce his weapon skill. So, but in the end, I end up no buffs, and I end up killing 10, and he ends up killing, he goes to town on me, he ends up killing 9 guys, but I still, have a charge, and I have an extra rank and stuff, so I win by 4, but it doesn't matter. He rolls triple 1s and stays on insane courage, and this is where I know I'm in huge trouble. This is everything that I feared before going into this charge. And now I am boned. So on his turn, he charges his Skink Priest into the flank of my BSB, his unit, and then he charges his General's unit with the Swarms into the front. So normally I wouldn't be worried about a Skink Chief charging me, but he's got that magical egg, which does 2d6 strength 5 hits at the start of combat, and that's just going to eat my white lions. So in the magic phase, he gets Savage Beast of Horus off on his cold one, or Scar Veteran, which is bad. The extra 3 attracts is going to end up killing an extra 3 guys. In his shooting phase, he takes the last wound off the eagle, and there goes the eagle. And this is what happens after combat. So the egg ends up killing 5, which I thought was, relatively lucky on my part. It could have been much worse. So there's no challenges, but my BSB and his Skink Chief end up fighting each other. And what ends up happening is my BSB takes a wound and his Skink Chief comes out unscathed. And then my general and his general end up fighting each other. I attack first. I have 3 attacks, and I fail to hit with any of them. And then he does 2 wounds to me. And then his Scarvet absolutely goes to town, but luckily, I have 1 white lion left at the end, and I'm stubborn 9 rerollable. and I stick. So on my turn, I charge my spearmen into the swarms, and this might save me. It all depends on whether I can kill his general and how many of these swarms I kill. Now, it's hard to tell from this picture, but my spearman and his source unit are corner to corner. So those units are touching, which ends up being very, very important later on in this game. And you'll see why in a bit. So in the magic phase, I get off miasma, and I reduce the weapon skill of the source by 3. So he's only hitting me on 5s, but it's a little too late. In the shooting phase, my bolt throwers take out the rest, the remaining wounds off his stegodon. And so I forgot to take a picture of it, but I'll use this picture to explain what happens. So my BSB and the Skink Priest keep fighting at each other, and I end up not doing a wound to his Skink Priest. He ends up making a 6-up parry just to save himself, and his Skink Priest kills my BSB. So I was really, really bummed about that. I mean, it's unexpected. I think it was, yeah, it happens. My general and the remaining White Lion attack his source and kill 2 of them, and then his Scarvet BSB can only attack the remaining White Lion standard, and he takes him out. And then his source champion puts the last wound on my general and takes him out as well. So I've lost that entire unit. Everything is dead. But the spearmen come in and they absolutely go to town. I put as many attacks as possible on his general to take the last wound off, and I do. Then I put the remaining attacks on the swarm bases, and I end up doing 9 wounds or something. I removed 2 swarms right off the bat. So I end up winning combat by like 12 or something ridiculous because I absolutely murdered those swarms. And I end up breaking his source, which really surprised me. I mean, this was an epic game. This combat in the middle, I don't think I've ever had such an intense combat. Neither of us knew what was going to happen. But in the end, the spearmen ended up saving the day. His Scarvet BSB breaks automatically, and his Skink Chief broke as well, and he panicked, and he's running the other way. So I chose to pursue the Saurs, but I failed to catch them. So then his Skink Chief continues to run away. He does not rally, and his Saurus rallies on insane courage. So I figured, I'll just charge him. I'll just charge him again and get his points next turn. So that's what I do, and in retrospect, that might have been a mistake. So he was relatively far away. I think I would have had to outroll him by like 2 or 3 to catch him. And we kind of lost track of the turns as well, but now I realize it's high elf turn 6. So his guy is fleeing at the end of the game, but the unit still counts as the points. So I don't get those points. But I forgot to take a picture of it, but my bolt throwers do finish off the Skink Chief. So I get those points. So what's left on the end of at the table is I have my block of Sea Guard and my 2 bolt throwers, and he's got his Blockosaurus. So it ended up being a very, very close game. I think that fight in the middle was absolutely epic. And I think it highlights maybe some of the weaknesses of my army. So my army is built around this magic phase, so it really relies on the buffs and hexes to do well in combat. So I mean, white lions are pretty killy, but if you get white lions that get hit on 5s or 6s, I mean, then they become ninjas. So without those buffs, I became very, very vulnerable. And I think you saw that there. My unit was absolutely wiped out. The other part of that is my characters are also very vulnerable. So my Lord Mage has 3 wounds and he's got a 2-up ward against the first wound, so he's essentially got 4 wounds. And I tried to regrow things. You can always regrow things with casting Earthblood, regrow wounds, but that didn't end up happening for me this game. And my BSB, yes, he's got a 4-up ward and a 4-up armor, but again, that did not prevent the skink from slapping him around like he was nothing. So the other thing I'd like to apologize for is I realized the pictures in this battle report were really like poor quality. I have ordered a new camera, so I think as of tomorrow I'll be getting better quality pictures. So going into future battle reports, that should improve. As far as the Escalation League is concerned, I got 3 points, 2 for winning and 1 for killing the general. And as a final comment, I'd like to thank my opponent for a great game. I mean, he's an absolute great sport. This was one of the most epic games that I've played in recent memory. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Bye.